could start with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, art who is up in heaven, aloe vera be thy name. The thy kingdom come. The magic kingdom, as it is on earth in the helicopter. Give us this day our daily pizza, and let us digest it. Forgive us. Forgive our passes we commit sometimes on women folk with their dresses that are too tight. Like, that's a nice caboose you got on. You know what? That's not part of it, I know that. Keep your heads bowed, please. Forgive us for trespassing, and do not lead us to the temptations, because we are tired of them and their dancing. And deliver us from evil with your mighty sword and falcon, forever and ever and ever. Amen.
Hey, what's up? It's Rick and Matt. Week 2 recap. Week 3 look ahead. A lot to get to here, Matthew. A lot to get through.
A lot to talk about. Wow.
All right, so let's start this week. We'll start with the trade. There was one trade this past week. We had myself sending Zach Ertz and Wes Welker over to Lacey Underall for Matthew Stafford and Alan Hearns.
Bullshit.
I think this trade was just pretty much predicated upon, Vernon Davis got hurt. They wanted a little bit more wide receiver depth. And I desperately needed a quarterback. So,
Did you give them a hand job at work?
That's not for this discussion. Okay? We don't need to talk about that. Unbeknownst to me, that's right, unbeknownst to me, the other half of Lacey Underall, Lake, big fan of the show.
Oh, really?
Big fan of the show. So I think sometime this season we're going to have to work him in somehow, and we're going to have to get him on the phone. We're going to have to maybe do like a little interview.
Conference call?
Yeah, we're going to have to conference him in,
Have him call into the show.
Have him call in.
Maybe we should start doing that now, you guys. Lines are open. If anybody wants to call in, go ahead.
1-900-999-9999. All right, so that was the trade. So I'm ecstatic about getting Stafford. But I did lose some depth, so we'll see what happens. But I'm very happy with the trade. So on the Fab report, just a couple pickups this week. Two of them were mine. I dropped RG3, obviously, with his bum ankle. I picked up Niall Davis. I know I overpaid, but there was no doubt that I was going to get the guy.
Man, you spent a lot of money in this week. You spent $108 this week?
Yeah, money's no object when it comes to my team.
Week 2 already, how much down in the hole?
Yeah, but whatever.
I think it's a little early for those kind of bids.
Yeah, well, I got the guy I wanted. I had to pay for him. And then I went out and got Delaney.
That's gonna make the podcast. I got the guy I wanted.
And then I picked up Delaney Walker, and I dropped Jake Locker. Me and Jake Locker are on the outs right now. Yeah, things didn't work out the way we thought it was going to work out when we took our relationship
public.
One of
those high school girls.
Yeah. It's when we took our relationship public, it just didn't work out for me.
Once you said you loved them,
yeah,
he was like, "See ya."
Yeah. He's like, it's way too soon for me.
We just met.
And then we had you picking up Stephen Ridley.
Yeah.
And dropping Ruben Randall, who actually is now, he could be the number 1 receiver for the Giants. They lost Jernigan. He's on IR for the rest of the year, and Victor Cruz really hasn't done much. So, but you pick up a nice little running back in Stephen Ridley, and you'll play New England Patriot running back roulette every week. And then, we had Bobby Rainey being picked up by Lacey Underall, who has been very active on the waiver wire to start the season. And they dropped Terrence Williams. Good old.
Bobby Rainey could be a good pickup.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen this week with Doug Martin. But
yeah, they're saying he might. They're saying he's going to play.
I was actually when I picked up Ridley last night. I was looking at Rainey because I know last year Rainey stepped in and he performed really well.
Yeah, I was a little shocked that nobody went out and got Kyrie Robinson or Ahmad Bradshaw yet, but I'm sure that's going to happen. So we'll see what happens. But they dropped good old 1 catch, 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
And and that's pretty much it. They get Bobby Rainey. So Lacey Underall quickly added some depth this week just by shedding Matthew Stafford. All right, you want to get into this? You want to get into
Let's do it.
Let's get into last week. Let's jump over here to week 2.
That's going to be in the podcast. That guy I love. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
I don't know. Kev's in Vegas now, so he might not have time for the podcast.
Yeah. What everybody? What or not what? That's you. What's his team name? Horsepower. Horsepower is cross country in Vegas. Just getting it in this week. So good for him. As we're all stuck here doing a podcast in my basement. So all right. So first game up, you got myself taking on Lacey Underall. I finally, staring 0-1 in the face, and I get the win.
Yeah.
It wasn't impressive, but
a win is a win.
A win's a win.
A win's a win. Nobody looks back at week 2 and says, "Oh my God, I can't believe I won week 2 with that score." No, doesn't matter.
So I was pretty much carried by Giovanni Bernard and the Pats D. As stated earlier, Jake Locker just poo-pooed the bed for me, and Jamal Charles gets hurt. Kendall Wright doesn't have a great game. I'm still waiting for Gronk. I don't know when it's going to be. So, not the greatest game in the world, but I get the win. Jennings just continues to be steady. He had 109 total yards. So that's what I was looking for when I drafted a guy like that. And Reggie Wayne didn't have that great of a game.
Such a shame, Charles. Charles, he could have been so good for you. I mean, he'll be good for you. Don't drop him if you're even considering it.
No, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but that sucks. I'm in the same boat as you, so
maybe we could trade. Maybe we could trade Charles for Peterson.
It doesn't matter.
And then on the other side, Lacey Underall with just a tough week. Barely cracks 100.
Yeah.
Michael
Floyd.
Floyd.
Tough week for pretty much everybody, except for Flip and Sweet, who had a fantastic week.
Yeah.
And maybe Fresh Lives, they had a good week.
But
everybody else was kind of
not a lot of double digits.
Yeah.
If you're Lacey, are you worried about McCoy at all with all the touches?
No.
Towards Sproles' way?
No.
But you can't be happy saying it.
You know what?
Yeah, he gets in the end zone.
He still 24 points. He's going to get his touches.
I
mean, I don't know. I don't know. Sproles, I don't know. I think Sproles is, and then people are going to, specifically maybe like Kev or Steve, who's not even in the league, but I'll say it because he loves Sproles. I think these first 2 weeks were kind of like God's gift to Sproles because.
Yeah, you think he's going to fall off?
Yeah, I do. I don't think he's going to continue this. And maybe he does. Maybe it's the play calling that they're doing, but teams are obviously going to catch on to this. And Sproles isn't McCoy.
Right.
McCoy is so much quicker. I wouldn't be concerned about it at all. If anything, I'd be okay with it right now because he's still producing, and
Sproles is
he
taking
has
a lot
less
of touches.
chance of getting hurt right now.
Okay.
That's how I look at it. But I think in the long run, McCoy's going to be the dominant force.
Okay. The dominant force.
Dominant force.
# dominant force. So I mean, this game, there wasn't anything great about this game other than the Patriots defense. So that's what I'll take away from this game. All right, moving on. Ash Gerbil and Flippin' Sweet.
Ash Gerbil, the past 2 weeks, Ash Gerbil's just been on the end of 2 really good games. He had me week 1, which I scored, I think I was in the
170 range, somewhere around there. Yeah.
And, he's producing points. He would have beat a bunch of teams this week.
Would have beat me by a point.
He would have beat me, too. Just
luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Luck of the draw. Now, I think if you're Ash Gerbil, if you're Chris, you don't panic. Because when you look at this, you're getting production all up and down the lineup. It's and he's in the same boat as you with these New England running backs. Now you with Ridley and him with Vereen. It just depends on who's going to get the ball that week, and you never know going in. So
he finally hits on his receivers.
Yeah, they all produce,
and then he lacks at quarterback, and he lacks at Vereen with only 6.2 points. So, it's a fucking...
He left Rivers on the bench. He had Edelman on the bench. I mean, he's got a lot of options. So I mean, every week he's just going to have to
his bench
just continue to make the right call. Yeah. And then on the other side, flipping sweet. I mean,
look at it this way.
What are you going to say here?
I mean, he just had a perfect week. Except, Vincent Jackson had a decent game, I guess, but not 9 points is okay. But if he starts Marshall,
he kills it this week.
He goes over 200 points. So.
Right.
Yeah, I got him next week, so that's going to be a tough
America's game of the week.
America's game of the week.
So very nice week by Flippin' Sweet. Now, with the loss, Ash Gerbil drops to 0-2. Flippin' Sweet moves to 1-1. And we didn't even get to your game, but you're the only undefeated team left. Then we have 8 teams at 1-1, and Ash Gerbil at 0-2. So it's going to be interesting over these next couple weeks.
Would you say this is a must-win for Ash Gerbil this week? Is it that point yet?
It's interesting because I was talking to Horsepower on the way home, and Ash Gerbil plays Horsepower week 4, and he has everybody on bye that week. He loses Manning, Sanders, Ball. So even if Ash Gerbil was to drop this game this week, he's at 0-3. I would think he probably feels pretty confident. He gets to 1-3, but hopefully he can get to 2-2. But just my whole point behind that comment was just that you have 8 teams at 1-1. So these next 3 weeks, whoever can separate themselves is going to give themselves a nice little cushion. Going into like those real bad stretches of byes, like 6 through 9. So it'll be interesting these next couple weeks to see which team is able to separate themselves. Next up. Whew. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. So we had Fresh Legs taking on double tight end set. 2 teams with.
How was he at work today? Was he like?
Well, before we even get to that, I just want to point out that these 2 have very nice league logos. They both incorporate ass cheeks in some kind of way in their logos.
I like.
Which
we promote that on the show.
Yes. We're really into that. So just
so if
based
any
off
ladies out there listening, feel free to stop by or.
Yeah, definitely comment on our YouTube page. But so coming into this game, just based on logos, I was a fan of just pulling up this scoreboard every time. But getting to the game
I'm sorry, but that's going to be on the podcast too. Coming into this guy I love. I can say it now. It's going to be hilarious.
Podcast Chopped and Screwed. Remix. Chopped and Screwed. There's another one for you. So, this is just utter domination.
Aaron Rodgers finally gets it going.
He gets it going. And much like Flippin' Sweet, he just gets production up and down the board other than Chris Johnson. Yeah. And Marshawn Lynch didn't even have that great of a game, but, I mean, he gets in the end zone. He gets 17 out of them.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, Alfred Morris, Terrence West. So, I mean, he made a nice move on the waiver wire to get Terrence West. He picks him up 20. So he's going to ride that train for a little bit. The bench was a little light. But, just a solid performance up and down the lineup. Macklin gets in the end zone. Really wasn't in the game.
I mean, it wasn't a fantastic game. I mean,
it was just
he
steady.
Didn't break 170, but he got good performance.
Good production. So if you're the thing that I would take away is like if you're 0-1, obviously you don't want to go 0-2, but when your team comes out and puts up this kind of performance, it makes you feel really good about like where you're going to go with your team. So kudos, Fresh Legs. Kudos. Now on the other side. So we go from high score of like 189 to like not even sniffing 100. Like whatever could have went wrong. And Matt Ryan goes from like 450 to 230. He throws 3 interceptions in this game.
Aaron Rodgers had more than half of all of the size points.
But to be fair, they lost AJ Green in the beginning, but it was just putrid up and down the lineup other than Antonio Brown on Thursday night. This is what I don't understand.
That's that's what happens though. Like you get a guy on a Thursday night game that puts up a decent performance, and you're like, all right, that's a good start to the week, and then it's just like, and you just like, oh god, I throw up. But that's love, man.
Hey, when you win, you take weight off, and you lose, you put weight on. It's just love, man. It's fantasy football. If I'm double tight end set, this is the one thing that I don't understand and gives me pause is this Pierre Garçon. Washington puts up 41. Cousins throws it all over the lot. He has one catch for 12 yards. Yeah. So
that's not going to happen though. Next year. I wouldn't take him out of the lineup.
Right. But with that being said though, there was no Jordan Reed. Niles Paul filled in nicely for Jordan Reed, but you had no Deshaun Jackson.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm just saying.
The guy was just going to his comfort. Kirk Cousins, he was just going to his comfort guy. So,
So you're saying Niles Paul is his comfort zone?
Everybody's comfort zone is their tight end.
Okay.
But,
all right.
You're not panicked?
I'm a little panicked by it because I just feel like.
Colston didn't have a fucking target last week, and I'm putting fucking Colston in the game, so.
Your fault.
Yeah.
So, anything else about double tight end set? We'll see how they rebound because actually they come back tomorrow night with Matt Ryan and Roddy White on Thursday night. So again, they can get out to the hot start on Thursday night and see where it takes them. But I don't know. This is one of those teams where they started so hot and then they fizzled out in week 2. So I'm curious to see how they rebound this week and come back. ABC against Prestige Worldwide.
Tight little game here.
Tight little game, but, Prestige Worldwide pulls out the victory. This is one of the oldest rivalries in this league. Now that Emil's back in the league, this matchup goes back like 10, 12 years in fantasy football. So it's always a tightly knit contest. But, if I'm ABC, and I know I shouldn't be worried, but Drew Brees just isn't that good so far this season.
Well,
and in our league,
he's not putting up like terrible numbers.
Right, but in our league, I mean, if you're going to take a quarterback in the second round, I expect more than 25 and 23 points. Because our league is, I mean, the scoring's inflated.
It's week 2, so
it's week 2,
25 and 23 in the first 2 weeks isn't that bad. I mean,
it's not bad, but
it's not like 13.41.
Right, but fresh legs takes Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers comes back and gets what, like 44, 41, something like that. So, I mean, when you're taking a quarterback that high, that's the kind of production I'm looking for. I'm looking for 35 to 40 every week for my quarterback.
That's why I don't take quarterbacks in those early rounds because I know that's not going to happen week in and week out.
And that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, if that's just like my little bit of concern there because he's not putting up those monster numbers. Now, obviously, both
concerned about Brees.
I can be concerned about whoever I want to be concerned about.
No, you'll be concerned about who I tell you to be concerned about.
No, I'm concerned because I'm concerned. Okay? But, granted, both games were on the road, so you get Drew Brees at home against Minnesota, who's not that great of a pass defense. So, I expect big things this week for Drew Brees, even though I'm playing against him. I'll be honest. So, and then he goes at Dallas, whose pass defense is just atrocious. So Drew Brees most likely gets going. So maybe the panic shouldn't.
This is where I'd be concerned about that running back spot.
Yeah. So before we even get to Prestige Worldwide, just to sum up ABC here, you got a hurt Toby Gerhart out there, who only rushes 7 times for 8 yards.
Let me say this: when your defense wins you the game,
but they lost, man.
I'm sorry.
They lost.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But he all right. Anyway, he got a good performance from
defense, right?
I'll say this: when your defense has more points than anybody on your team besides your quarterback,
yeah, that's not good.
It's not good.
That's not good. But so he loses. He lost Noshawn Marino. They lose. What did I say? Noshawn?
No, I call him Noshawn.
They lose Ryan Matthews. Joyke Bell's fumbling all over the place. 2 fumbles. Zach Stacy's still splitting time with Benny Cunningham. So I mean, it's just it's just not a good time in in ABC land right now.
No, they're
Nice game
1-1.
from Crabtree.
I mean, everybody's close. It's not, it's week 2. Everybody's close. Anything can happen.
So you come back this week and regroup?
Yeah.
Okay. They still got Calvin Johnson. They still got Drew Brees. And they still got Mason Crosby. So everything's okay.
And they got the Cardinals defense.
And then on the other side, Prestige Worldwide.
Typical Brady monster numbers.
Yeah. It's, it has come to my attention that Tom Brady,
Sucks anymore. Might be done.
he doesn't suck.
Is
He
Brady
doesn't suck.
done?
No, he's not done. In fantasy, yes, he's done. In NFL, he's a good quarterback. In fantasy, it's just not there anymore. I lived through it last year, and now I'm seeing it all over again. Like, if I own Brady, there's no way I could start the guy with confidence that he was going to perform for me. New England just seems so hell-bent on wanting to run the football. So that's the only thing I'll say about Tom Brady, because I love the guy.
Do you still pleasure yourself to him?
How many times a week?
Here's my guy, DeMarco.
DeMarco with another monster game.
I love DeMarco Murray. That's some prestige.
How much?
If you like anybody on my team, shoot me a DeMarco Murray offer over, and we'll get to talking. We'll get down to brass tacks.
So, between your girl, your 2 kids, and DeMarco Murray, where does DeMarco Murray fall?
Right below my 2 kids. And
Above your
right
girl?
above my girl.
Oh, God, I hope she doesn't hear this. Demaryius Thomas, steady, Heath Miller, nothing really going there, but they didn't have a choice. Jordan Cameron was hurt. Le'Veon Bell's just steady. Just steady Eddie. Steady Eddie, you like that one?
T.Y. Hilton, he was targeted a lot. He would have a lot more points.
Yeah.
But,
Now, coming into this game, they were down like 1 point going into Monday night, so they only needed to catch out of T.Y. Hilton to get them the win.
Right.
But they lost Decker. Maybe they see a bump with Pierre Thomas with Mark Ingram getting hurt, and I guess we'll talk about that in a little
that
bit.
5th round pick is really standing out, huh?
Who?
The Seahawks.
Oh, yeah, the Seahawks did. Look at that this week.
One.
When you're getting 1 point from your 5th round pick, you're in good shape. You're in good shape. When I was looking at this, the one thing that I find odd, this team carries 3 tight ends. They got Heath Miller, Jordan Cameron hurt, and then they left Antonio Gates on the bench with 35 points. Oh my God. Are you into...
That's like one of those things you keep going, you keep looking back at it. Like, let me plug it in. What do you have? Okay.
Let me ask you something.
All right, I'll be in my starting lineup next week.
Are you into 7 catches for 96 yards and 3 touchdowns? Is that the kind of thing that gets you going on a Sunday?
That's not my kind of game.
It's not your kind of game?
Yeah.
Are you more in...
I like those 5.5 games.
Yeah, are you more like 4 catches, 35 yards, and a fumble loss?
I'm like a girlfriend in high school. I like to be treated like shit.
Like a Heath
Treat
Miller
them
game.
like shit. They'll love you. No, but yeah, that hurts. I know what that feels like to have a guy on your bench have a massive performance, and the guy you start over him doesn't do fucking dick.
Diddly dick.
But I mean, luckily, he obviously doesn't care because he won the game. So
Right.
I mean,
So in it, both teams end up 1-1. So that's where we're at. And then finally, the last game. What? Against...
you're not saying it right. You got to say what?
Yeah, I don't have that kind of time.
Well, you need to make the time. Right?
Come on, I got too much shit going on, man. So we got what?
There you go.
Going against Horsepower. So I'll let you take the lead on this game. What do you want to talk about here?
I just want to say thank you to Jordy Nelson for saving my life, for saving my day. Anyway,
Now you love DeMarco Murray. Are you ready to proclaim your love for Jordy, or is it more like kind of like a lust thing? Like
that would be,
it's like the beginning of a relationship, and you're
Yeah.
just banging all the time.
It's like
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I don't know.
Are you ready to become
Jordy's obviously Roger's favorite target.
Yeah. You think? Are you are you ready to become a one receiver kind of man and just devote yourself to Jordy Nelson?
Well, how can I? I mean, I don't know. I mean, DeMarco, that would be. He's not going to get rid of DeMarco Murray anyway because he's such a solid player for him. But I don't know if I would get rid of Jordy either because it's just they're two different positions. I'd be. Yeah,
So-
I don't even want to talk about it because it's not even an issue right now. But yeah, I didn't really feel good about going into this game on Sunday night. I know Kev only had his tight end who
And a kicker.
put up a goose egg and his kicker, but I still didn't feel good about it.
Well, I'll tell you what. You don't have Jordy, you don't win this game. And that's
shit. I just thanked him. And did you miss my?
no. I
beginning
heard
of
you
my-
thank him, but I mean, I'm just pointing out the obvious in case somebody really didn't analyze the box score like we do here on the podcast. Okay, all right,
on the podcast.
on the podcast. Okay, so anything to say about this game? Or about your team other than Jordy Nelson? You want to talk about this?
Shit.
You
I mean,
you
I
wanna-
don't even.
You want to talk about this asshole right here?
I feel like I got away with one this week.
Yeah, you did.
Not taking away for anything from Kev's team, but I mean when you get a combined 14 points from all three of your flexes combined, that's if you still win, you better
yeah.
thank your lucky stars.
Right. You got anything to say to this guy?
Colston, yeah, I don't know. I'm not taking him out either because I
Alright.
think he's going to bounce back. But
So actually, both of you guys had a guy that goose egged.
Kev was pretty solid too. Besides,
Yeah,
the tight end having
until
blanking.
Kev was gonna win.
Monty Ball, I don't even know what happened with Monty Ball. They gave Emmanuel Sanders a bunch of carries that game. Remember Kev
C.J. Anderson.
or C.J. Anderson?
Yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, 'cause you're looking right at
Yeah,
it.
C.J. Anderson. I mean, Kev texted and he was like, "Is Monty Ball hurt?" And
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he did get hurt and nobody knew about it, and they were
Right.
just holding him out, and then he came back. But
Yeah,
I was surprised by that.
he leaves Sproles on the bench, which
Yeah.
is the difference there.
Well, I mean,
and you
I
left
left Sammy
and you left
Watkins.
Sammy. Who?
Sammy Watkins.
All right. Anything else about this game?
Nah.
Nothing. Nothing. This was kind of like a one man show. If it's not for Jordy, it goes the other way. But because of Jordy, it goes your way. And that pretty much sums up this entire game. Just low scoring across the board by everybody, other than
That's
your
pretty much it. Jordy Nelson. That's all you guys.
other than your man love.
It actually comes down to one play. Actually,
Yeah, the 80-yard.
the 80-yard touchdown.
Because that's where you hit all your bonuses. Okay, so to wrap up week 2, we got in the old school Villanova division, we got 5 teams tied for first at 1-1. Down in the Northeast Philly division, we got you at 2-0, Horsepower, Fresh Legs, and Flippin' Sweet all at 1-1, and then Ash Gerbil at 0-2. So it's a big week coming up. If you can move to 3-0. And some of these other teams falter, you're going to have a nice little cushion early on in this division, but it's all to be seen.
It's still early to tell.
All right. So let's get into next week's games. Shall we? Shall we? All right, first game up. We got me going against the Black Crackers. And let's just give a quick rundown here. We got Breeze going against.
What are the projections for this game?
The predictions have me winning by 3, but they never hold up.
Wow, that's tight.
That's
And they're both high predictions this week.
Yeah, well, I'm a high scoring juggernaut. What do you want from me? So we got Breeze going against Stafford, Zach Stacy against Niall Davis, the newly acquired Niall Davis. Ooh, Calvin Johnson.
$77 man.
Not the $1 million man, the $77 man. We got Calvin Johnson going against Reggie Wayne, Dennis Pitta against Gronk, Joik Bell against Giovanni Bernard, Mike Wallace against Rashad Jennings, Michael Crabtree against Lamar Miller, and Mason Crosby going against Justin Tucker and the Cardinals and Patriots.
Justin Tucker might win this game for you outright.
You know what? I think he just kicked another field goal from last week. Okay. If I'm going to win this game, it's going to be because of Rob Gronkowski. I love Gronk. Yo soy fiesta. But
This game is so tight. I'm going to say this right now. I feel like You could win this game if Calvin doesn't have a big game.
Well, see,
But
I
this
kind
is
of
like-
need Calvin to have a big game because I got Stafford.
No, you kind of want Stafford to throw to everybody else.
Yeah, well, no shit,
but
Sherlock.
Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson
Yeah,
gets so many more points than
I-
Stafford would get.
I get that. But I'd be an idiot to think that Stafford's not going to throw it to Calvin Johnson.
All right.
You know?
I'm just saying. That's my theory.
Right.
My opinion.
All right. So, looking at this game, I think it comes down to Rob Gronkowski. If this guy finally breaks out of his shell and he's ready to roll, I'm going to roll this week. And that's my prediction. I am so in love with my team right now. So in love.
Your team looks good right now.
Yeah.
You made some nice moves, nice pickups.
So I'm taking me this week. I think Drew Brees has a big game. I think Matthew Stafford has a big game. Both of them have great matchups. But I think Rob Gronkowski is the difference this week. And if I'm ABC, I don't know if you noticed this. Last Thursday night, Baltimore scored 2 touchdowns by the tight end. It just wasn't Dennis Pitta. It was Owen Daniels. So I don't know if it's just the way the play calls came in and Owen Daniels was on the field, but he snags the 2 touchdowns away from Pitta. So obviously they're not afraid to throw to Daniels.
All right. Obviously, your pick this week.
I'm going to take me.
I am also going to go and say Optimus Stein takes this one.
Okay. Next up, Flippin' Sweet at what?
You didn't say it right.
What?
It's America's Game of the Week.
America's Game of the Week.
1 and 2 power rankings.
So this game could actually be for first place. It's early in the season, but that's what's on the line here. Matthew could move to 3-0 for the 3rd year in a row, or Flippin' Sweet could pull out the win. So right now the projections have a 12-point win for Flippin' Sweet. So let's just run this down. You got Cutler against Luck, Foster against Ridley, Marshall against Nelson, Jimmy Graham against Julius Thomas.
Let me just stop you there. That's some good matchups, isn't it?
Oh, yeah,
Look at these matchups.
it's
Marshall
wonderful.
and Nelson, Jimmy Graham, Julius Thomas.
Now-
except for the Ridley and
Now,
Eric
what I
Johnson.
will say is here, they have Andrew Luck to outscore Jay Cutler. My prediction is it's actually going to be flopped the other way because I just saw what Aaron Rodgers did to that Jets defense. Their pass defense stinks. And right now, Jay Cutler is the 2nd highest scoring quarterback in standard scoring in
What
fantasy.
the Eagles did to
So,
the Jacksonville
right.
defense in the second half of that
Right.
other game.
Hey, I'm just saying I'm taking Cutler this week.
Okay.
That would be my projection. That's all. We got Foster against Ridley, Marshall Nelson, Graham Thomas. Tough matchup with Thomas against Seattle this week.
I'm actually thinking that it's going to be good for Julius Thomas
Okay.
because obviously Demaryius Thomas, Sherman's going to be on Thomas. Emmanuel Sanders is
If
going
Thomas
to be.
lines up on that side of the field, because Sherman only plays one side of the field.
They're going to go out. And they're not going to be a bitch about it.
Well, that's what Green Bay
But
did.
I think that opens more doors for Julius Thomas.
How many doors are there?
There's like 13 doors, and all of them are going to be open, except
For
for
Julius.
One, except for one. That's
Okay.
off limits.
Okay. What's behind that door? Do
don't
we
wanna
know?
know.
We don't want to know. Okay. Andre Johnson against Sammy Watkins. Vincent Jackson tomorrow night going against Colston. Kelvin Benjamin against Fitzgerald.
And this, I'm not even saying this isn't my final lineup here.
Okay.
There
All
could
right.
be some changes made.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Flippin' Sweet puts Matt Asiata back in now with the Peterson suspension. Obviously, you lost Peterson. We didn't even talk about that. We're not going to talk about that. The guy's just gone, and that's that. So-
Everybody go home. Give your kids a good whooping.
Come on now, it's too soon. Next week for Adrian Peterson jokes.
Well, I like to beat my kids.
Oh, come on now.
I don't hit them
Yeah,
with sticks, but
This is recording. This could be used in court one day. So I'm gonna go out and say Flippin' Sweet pulls out the victory this week, and you drop the 2-1, and you do not get the 3-0.
what?
Yeah, that's. I'm a big believer in Cutler Marshall on Monday night, and that's the difference for me.
Yeah, I hate having to sweat out a Monday night game, but I'm gonna go
Especially with two
obviously.
studs against a bad pass defense. But we'll see what happens. So you're taking yourself. And I'm sure the podcast audience is just shocked. They're just in awe right now when they're going to listen to that to hear that you picked yourself. Next game up. Horsepower against Prestige Worldwide. Prestige Worldwide is a 16-point favorite coming into this game. You got Manning against Brady. Monte Ball against DeMarco Murray, your love. Sanders against Thomas. Allen against Gates. That could change.
Yeah, I have a feeling Kev's going to do something like that.
Ellington against Le'Veon Bell. Doug Martin against Pierre Thomas. Darren Sproles against T.Y. Hilton. So, I guess this game is really going to come down to is who Peyton Manning throws it to.
Right, I can't believe they have
Because if it does-
Demarius so high against
Right.
Seattle's D.
If the ball doesn't go Demarius' way, obviously he's not. He's
Gonna
not
catch
gonna-
it?
He's not going to catch it.
He's not going
He's not going to catch it.
He's not going to catch it if it doesn't go his way.
If they don't, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, if they don't throw it to Demarius, he's probably not going to score a lot of points this week. Okay, but
Unless Peyton Manning gets hurt and he becomes a quarterback, then he could maybe.
yeah, and then he could get quarterback numbers. Yeah. All right, so I'm not in love with Tom Brady. DeMarco Murray against a tough Rams defense.
Marco.
Gates against Allen. See, look, they already made the change to Antonio Gates. Doug Martin, Ellington. I'm going to take the dog this week. And I'm going to say that Horsepower sticks it to Amel one more time.
Yeah.
Prediction?
I think that number for Tom Brady is high.
23 is high.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at that, I mean, he had 17 and 13. Now, the only saving grace is that he plays Oakland this week. But maybe they just come out and run the shit out of the ball because they know they don't need to throw it. Or maybe they come out and they throw it all over the lot to work on their passing game, which I hope for obviously with Gronk. I mean, New England is so tough to figure out every week what they're going to do. And for that reason, I think Peyton Manning gets redemption in Seattle. Monte Ball runs it well. And Horsepower is going to get the win here this week.
I'll agree, and I'm going to go with Horsepower too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Follow me, Matthew, to the promised land. Tight game, little here, little Lacey Underall against double tight end set, little division matchup.
I mean, double tight end set can't not possibly have a game like they had last week, can they?
If they do, we might have to call intervention into the Villanova next week. Because if it's that bad again, they might drop out of the league. They might not set a lineup for the rest of the year. So right now, the projections have Lacey Underall winning by 7. So let's run it down. We got Foles against Matt Ryan, McCoy against Forte, Michael Floyd against Antonio Brown, Zach Ertz. Ooh, they plug in the newly acquired Zach Ertz.
God, man, some of these projections are really high. Like McCoy having 30, they're projecting him to have 30. That's a high projection.
They are projecting 30.
Yeah, isn't that a high projection? 30 points.
Yeah. Well, it's 29. Let's not get crazy.
Oh, that's not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I exaggerated a bit.
Jeffrey against Garcon, Eddie Lacy against Golden Tate, Patterson against Roddy White, and then kickers and defenses, which we don't talk about here. What do you like about this matchup here?
McCoy.
McCoy. And let me ask you something. Does this guy finally get rolling?
No.
Eddie Lacy?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think he's another Trent Richardson.
He leaves week 1 with a concussion and only scores 9 points.
He's too. This is my own personal opinion. He's too big
With all
to be
due
a
respect.
consistent. I said with all due respect. He's too big of a guy to be a productive running back. Like,
He's too big?
you know what I mean? Like he's too stocky. Like I don't know. That's just my thing. He's too big. He's not going to break you. He's not going to break a run for. He's not going to break a 70-yard touchdown.
Okay.
You know what I mean? He's not a McCoy who can do that.
Okay. So,
That's just my personal opinion on Eddie Lacy.
with all due respect,
It's in the Geneva Convention.
all right. So we got it. You don't like Eddie Lacy.
Not that I don't like him. I just think he's another.
Well, to be fair, Green Bay was down so big in this game that they threw it all over the lot. The Jets stopped the run pretty well, and they can't stop the pass. So maybe Eddie Lacy wasn't a big factor. So we'll see this week at Detroit to see how they plan on using him. But so far for the year, I mean, if you kept Eddie Lacy at the draft, you were ecstatic. I mean, right now it's not looking so good. I mean, he's not looking like the greatest keeper. And
exactly.
for most guys, for most redraft leagues, Eddie Lacy went in the top 7 picks. So I mean, really nobody's happy with him. So you say McCoy makes the difference here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Foles, I think it comes down to Foles.
Yeah, I'm going to take
and Ryan. So,
barring some miracle on double tight end sets part here, just because Roddy White's banged up. Pierre Garcon, I'm still on the fence about. And Matt Forte going against that Jets run defense. That run defense is legit. They just can't stop the pass. Like I said, I will take Lacy under all.
I'm also going to agree with you and take Lacy under all.
You know what we never go back and review who we picked. So I feel like we're never wrong. Because were we ever really wrong? Never wrong. And to round out.
Except for about Adrian Peterson last week.
Yeah, I told you he was done.
Oh, he's gonna get his. He's gonna get his.
Yeah, he's gonna get his in a jail cell.
Fucking locked up again.
I wouldn't be surprised if another report comes out that there's another kid. I mean, he's only got 17 kids by 14 moms. So
I don't see nothing wrong with it. Anybody can hate me with all you want. I don't care. I think kids need to be beat sometimes.
he hate me.
I'm gonna get so much hate mail to the podcast.
Oh my god!
Get death threats and shit to my house. Mm-hmm. I don't care. I don't have a problem with it.
He hate me. All right, final game. We got Fresh Legs taking on Ash Gerbil. Now, you mentioned this earlier. Are you calling this a must-win for Ash Gerbil?
I would think so. I mean, can you?
You lose this game, you're 0-3, and you're 0-3 in the division. And you have 3 head-to-head losses already. So I mean,
you figure.
So you're losing tiebreakers. Head-to-head's the first tiebreaker, and then division record's the second tiebreaker. So I mean, even if you're able to put together this incredible run over the last 10 games, you're most likely going to lose out on tiebreakers because you lost to everybody in your division.
Right. And
so
yeah, and you go 0-3. Put yourself in the position. You don't get even. Say you have a miraculous 3-game run, you don't get even till week 6.
Right.
And you're not even winning.
Right.
So week 7 comes. I mean,
if you're 0-3, you got 10 games left. Just to get to 7-6, you got to win 7. You got to win 7 out of 10.
You got to have a run like no other.
Right.
So I mean,
a run like Fresh Legs had last year.
This is a must-win for.
All right. So as we look at the projections, 169 to 169. Yeah. So it looks like we're going to have to make the judgment call here. So we got Rodgers against Rivers, Lynch against Vereen, and of course this is as of right now. Macklin against Bryant, Bennett against Olsen, Keenan Allen against Julio Jones, Alfred Morris against Randall Cobb, Terrence West against Percy Harvin. And then kickers and defense. It's a pretty tight matchup. Now, are you basing that just on the fact that the projections say 169 to 169?
No.
Is that the detective work that you did to determine that it was going to be a tight matchup?
This is what I did. I CSI'd it. I punched all the numbers into my brain computer.
And came up with who's going to win. Who's the deciding player here? Who puts them over the top?
Jeez. I don't know.
I already got my pick.
It's too close to call.
I think you got to make a decision here.
I think it comes down to quarterbacks again.
I'm going to say Ash Gerbil gets off the schneid here. They win. I got a good feeling this week. The guy's been done dirty twice. He's producing every week. So it's not like it's like some shit squad he's running out there. The guy's putting up points. It just sucks that, he just hasn't had a fortunate matchup where one team just hasn't really produced.
I'm going to go with I'm going to disagree with you and go with fresh legs. this
Okay.
week. I think Macklin's going to have a good game against Washington.
Okay.
I think Aaron Rodgers settled down a bit. I think he's going to have a real good game against Detroit.
Shootout? Are you calling shootout?
No, I just
Shootout.
I don't know. I just feel like Aaron Rodgers finally got into because he was hurt all last year, so
Okay.
I mean, it takes time to come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just just my
One thing I did notice is that when Green Bay gets down to around the 10, 5, 7
They
in
look
that
for
range,
Cobb.
they look for Cobb. It's not. They don't look for Jordy in those tight windows.
because
It's
he's
so-
a slot. Randall Cobb's a slot receiver. It's always easier to throw to your slot receiver.
And he always seems to win in those matchups. So I like the fact that he has Cobb, he has Jones, and I think this is the week that the receivers really carry him. And Ash Gerbil gets the win over fresh legs. So that's it. That's the podcast this week.
That's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote. See you all next week.
Later.